Right. So whatever you see here, this is what generally the program governance steering committee document is. Because earlier we have discussed about program communication plan. So this one is completely program governance steering committee, where you need to mention about the committee members who are involving in it. You have to mention about the kind of steering committee members who are involving in it. At the same time, you need to mention about the kind of roles and responsibilities what that team members have. At the same time, whatever the kind of decision making a steering committee has taken based on the kind of inputs what they have received to for the program management and all, those guidelines as well as the decision making approach what committee has to follow, that descriptions and all everything is what generally we have to write under the decisions. Please do remember, these decisions, whatever the information are we going to write, is not the detailed information here. So not the detailed one, right? Not the detailed information we are writing. We are writing down the information about the kind of decision making approach what a team has to follow, and how this team has to be following this in order to make it more convenient and more successful and all everything. So this is where generally this decision this thing will be used for. Steering committee members information will be mentioned on the first one. After that, when we are talking about the decisions part, which describes about the kind of decision making approach which committee has to follow. At the same time, we need to mention about the kind of guidelines what is that they follow here, because every steering committee as well as the organization have their own guidelines to rephrase the kind of programming standards what is that they require to follow, because that may vary from organization to organization, because steering committee will be in the decision making front where the guidelines and all everything, upon those guidelines and all, these people has to work here. This is where generally these decisions and all everything come into picture. After decisions and all, the next is about review part. Reviews normally we can categorize it into three different parts. One is state gate reviews is the first one, and second program performance reviews is the second one, followed by program component change request. So when we talk about state gate requires and all everything, state gate reviews and all everything are majorly included to review the kind of information which is something relating to the kind of data what is that is being used here. At the same time, how this data can be transformed to the next stage, because in projects there are different stages which we see whenever we are working on it. So we need to understand about the kind of stages whatever we have, and how these stages can be incorporated, and how these stages can be moved on to the next level is what generally we see under the reviews part. This is what generally we talk about reviews. So state gate reviews I'm talking about. State gate reviews is majorly focusing on the outlines of the requirements what people have taken here. At the same time, what kind of data has been taken and how these data can be implemented and improved over a period of time. At the same time, when we talk about program performance reviews, which majorly discuss about the kind of performance of the programs, what we are focusing more on, because as in when we discussed even earlier, there are a couple of projects will be run under this program part, program management. So this not deal with only one project performance, because one project performance is not comes under program performance. Program performance we see by by correlating all the projects. Whichever the projects are comes under that category of program management, so that program management category performances has to be reviewed here. This is where generally this program performance reviews will be used. So not only the performance information, at the same time the kind of review of the kind of information what is that we have mentioned here, and how at what dates generally this information of the program has to be reviewed here, and who are authorized, because usually steering committee are the people who will be taking this authorization. So this program reviews and all everything will be performance reviews and all everything will be reviewed by the steering committee, apart from the state gate reviews, all that stuff, followed by the kind of apart from the decisions what they have taken earlier. And followed by this, the next is next reviews and all, everything is based on the component changes. You know, component changes means the kind of changes you are making in the existing components of the projects. So these components may vary because components can be divided into two different parts. One is hardware components and second is software components. Hardware components means either the components which are used externally to use this application to work with, and software components for inside. The best example in reference to the cloud-based point of sale system, as an example we have taken earlier. Hardware components, nothing but this barcode scanner, readers, all that. When we're talking about software components means which are inbuilt in it. For example, inventory management system, or else at the same time payroll management system, right? So because payroll management system is being required and connecting as a software component for the cloud-based POS, where employees are using their employee ID and all everything, there will be logging into the system and they perform the activities. So then that way you can know about the log details of the people when they have logged in and when they have logged out. Followed by this, inventory management system is also required, wherein to access the information from the inventory management system so that we can see the list of products, everything there. So what are the different components are we using? Program components and all. Maybe these program components may not be same for all the projects because there may be different projects. Components may vary from time to time. But whatever the changes, because as in when we do the change management or change order request we do for the projects, what is that and how do we do? In the same manner, even for the program components and all everything, that request documentation is there, anything is there. At the same time, the kind of process what steering committee has followed to manage these programs when there is any kind of changes taken place, all that information will be updated under this document. So this is where generally the program governance documentation is. This is majorly focusing on the program governance in connect to the steering committee, the kind of decision what they have taken, who are those members, what are the rules and regulations, what are the roles and responsibilities these people has to be followed, are following or else, or been defined, whatever it was. At the same time, the kind of decisions what is that people have taken, followed by the kind of priorities. Apart from that, we must be knowing about the kind of reviews, like either it could be a state gate reviews or it could be a program performance or else component change request, all that. So this is all the information we will be discussing under the program governance and steering committee. This is what the document which was mailed to you already. You can have a glance on it whenever you have it time. Is it clear, Hassan?
Yes.
Right. Next documentation, the final document, apart from the one which I have discussed earlier, as well as today, the third document and final document is called Program Charter Management Plan. You know why for what reason project charter or a program charter will be used, so that to have a clear understanding about what is that we are doing and for what purpose. Generally, program charter or a project charter, because because if it is a single project, it's called as project charter. If it is for multiple projects and all, it's called program charter. That's only the thing. So the program charter and as well as management plan has to be describing about the high level view of the kind of programs, what is that we have captured and what kind of strategic initiatives an organization has taken to complete this program successfully. Because as you see, the project scope, whatever we have discussed in the previous sessions, in the same way, not only project scope, even program scope is also required. Because there are possibilities where deviations might be taken place in middle of the project sometimes. Due to that, scope creep may happen at any point in time. So in keeping that into view and an account, the program description, which majorly explains about the high level understanding about the kind of program captures what we do, at the kind of outcome, what is that we require, and the kind of deliverables, whatever is needed initially to understand with. At the same time, we must be knowing about the organization strategic initiatives, which we have taken, all that comes under this program description. So this describes only about the description of the program in context to the program scope. Okay, please do remember that. This program description is not something relating to the program, what is that we are developing, but this is in review of the scope of the program, what is that we have identified. Followed by this understanding the business needs. So this we have discussed a couple of times earlier, because unless until if you don't understand the need of the business, developing a solution doesn't have any value at all, because business need is completely connecting with the kind of business goals and objectives a customer wants to achieve. Again, those business goals and objectives were connecting to the goal and vision of the organization which we have, because return of investment is essentially needed end of the day. So when the return of investments takes place, whenever we are working on the business need, when you are trying to study about the business objectives goals, apart from that, the kind of goal and vision and all, there you will be knowing and as well as understanding about the business need here, all that. Next, after that, we must be knowing and we must be writing about the benefits here, right? So benefits as well as with the beneficiary details. Benefits rather than the benefits and all, I can say the beneficiary information where we need to understand about the kind of benefits which are gained through because of this kind of program, what is that we are developing. At the same time, we have to measure as well as we have to specify and as well as the measure the kind of delivery dates in reference to the program, what is that we are mentioning here. We have to mention the brief of the name of the program, what exactly the program is all about, the briefing of the name of the program. At the same time, we need to mention the description of the program, whatever the program description, because a couple of projects were involved in that program, all that. So that program description has to be mentioned here. At the same time, tangible or intangible, because tangible or intangible means normally it is intangible. It is nothing but tangible. It's not intangible. Tangible programs is what we do. At the same time, what kind of metrics we follow, because as you have mentioned some time back, right? Because those are all comes under metrics like burn down charts, burn up charts. At the same time, velocity reports, whatever the velocities and all everything we calculate in agile environment I'm talking about. Those are all comes under the metrics to evaluate the health of the project, because how the project is running, all that stuff. In the same way, even program management will also have a metrics, as you have asked me in the beginning of the session, because program management will also have a metrics where for that metrics and all, we have different tools, as I stated earlier, something like Trello and all everything, where couple of projects are something integrating with that, wherein couple of projects can be incorporated. So where we can prepare different reports and all, those are all the metrics. So what kind of metrics are we going to follow? That information has to be mentioned here. Followed by this, you know that we need to mention about the expected benefit delivery date. So when is the delivery date of the program, which are we going to complete? At the same time, if there is any kind of related program milestones or the components of the projects, if anything was found out, because it is not something essentially enough to have some program milestones, all that here. There are possibilities sometimes that program milestones and all everything will be included in it, sometimes not. So the related program milestones as well as components of the projects will also be incorporated under the benefits. So benefits is the one which majorly explains about the kind of program what we have, followed by the kind of description and tangible, intangible. At the same time, what kind of metrics are we following? It depends on the kind of tool what we use. Because some people can follow Jira, some people can follow Trello, some people can go for Azure DevOps, where if the development team is working on DevOps environment, they can use DevOps also, right? So those are all comes under the metrics part. At the same time, delivery date of the benefit of the delivery date has to be mentioned. Last but not least, is there any kind of related program milestones or the components we have identified? That information can also be updated under the benefits. After that, here you need to write down the program component project details and all, right? So because name has to be written here, whatever the project names and all everything, because couple of projects are there, right, in that program component. So you can write down the name of the project and who is dealing about the project, because every project normally will have a project management team will be available there. You know that, right? So nothing to explain more. So project management team or project manager is available in this. At the same time, we have to mention about the description of the program I'm talking about, right? Description of the project I'm talking about. At the same time, what are the primary deliverables? Primary deliverables depends on the kind of release planning what we have made, because we are not executing and we are not delivering the project at a stretch. There are some layers which normally we see and we follow. So primary deliverables majorly focusing on based upon the release planning what we have made. What are the primary deliverables we want to deliver at one point in time initially to start with? That's what comes under the primary deliverables. Followed by this, we need to mention about the estimated delivery time. So when is the estimation delivery time we have? Because when the delivery of the estimations and all everything, because depends on the approximity of the release, what is that we have planned. So that may be for 2 months, that may be for 3 months sometimes. Depends on that. Normally in agile environment, the sprints and all everything will be planned. Right. So that's what the estimated delivery date has to be mentioned under the program components, followed by the kind of project name what we have. How many projects are we working on under the program component? That information update has to be mentioned here. Next, scope, in scope, out scope, you don't, right? Because whatever we do in project management, in project management also in scope and out scope we do. The same thing will also be applied even for programs. There is no much difference, the same thing, but deviations you have to see as in when we are working on couple of projects and all. So we must ensure that what are all the in scope and out scope do we have and all everything. That's what we need to see under in scope and out scope. Followed by this, the next is about here you need to write down the preliminary description of the work. What is that we have taken? So which is something in high level statement. Please do remember, this is in high level statement you have to mention, not the low level one. We need to mention about the high level statement here. Whatever the high level statements do we have? 1 minute. Yeah. So the high level statement you have to mention. High level statement of the preliminary description of the work, what we have taken, has to be mentioned under this column and this description here. Followed by this, we need to mention about the kind of project management activities, if any, we follow. At the same time, how this change reviews taken place, because project management team will be involved in change reviews and all, change order request and all will be prepared. Even they have to see the project impact evaluation followed by the budget and technical impact evaluations has to be taken care of by the project management team. So what are the standard project management activities which everybody has to follow? That has to be submitted and evaluated here. Followed by this program steering committee members. Based on the documentation, what is that we have prepared for the steering committee information there. The same information followed by the decisions reviews, as you know, right? The same information, because these documents were interconnected. Please do remember. Either when we talk about the program governance in reference to the steering committee or the kind of documentation in reference to the program charter management plan, whatever the steering committee information we have created and as well as mentioned in the previous documentation, the same information will also be reviewed under this management plan, because this document is completely giving you an understanding about the program charter management plan, which is right from beginning to ending. So because the kind of projects we are working on, the kind of deadlines what we have, the estimated delivery dates, at the same time the kind of descriptions what we have, everything will be mentioned, so that the program steering committee information, whatever I have discussed so far, hence I am not discussing again. So because the state gate review, program performances, all these will be mentioned. Next, we will be knowing about the risks and dependencies. You know, risk management will be made, because risk can be of anything. Either it could be an budget level risk, or it could be a technical one, or it could be an schedule risk, or it could be a regulatory risks and all. So what are the different risks which are involved in it, and how it is impacting on the program, because it's not relating to project, right? How it is impacting on the program. Why? Because I'll tell you, for example, sometimes there are a couple of team members who are working on this couple of projects, right? Because there will be some roles where those roles required for multiple teams, multiple projects. Sometimes I don't say, I'm not generalizing statement for everything. So there are possibilities that multiple people, a few people work for multiple projects. So due to the kind of improper performance, I don't say that they perform well, but as it is a human intervention, there are possibilities of delays might be taken place. So how it is getting impacted, because that is also we need to see, because human intervention delays and all, everything leads to risk even sometimes, because whenever we have planned the schedules, that schedules may get delayed due to this reason. So impacts as well as the kind of dependencies, whatever were mentioned here. So that information should also be mentioned under the risks, impacts and dependencies, all that. Followed by this, here you need to write down the risk, the kind of risk, what it was. The description has to be, it could be a schedule risk sometimes, right? So it could be a schedule risk, right? So description of the risk has to be mentioned here. At the same time, how it is being impacted, right? So in what way schedule risk, because timelines, I'm talking about the timelines of the schedule risk has to be mentioned. At the same time, how it is impacting, is it a high impact or medium or low impact? Scheduling depends on the program to program, it will vary. Depends on the deliverables, final deliverables, what we have taken. So based on that, this high level as well as medium and low level priorities or the prioritizations in reference to the risk and all, everything will be vary here. At the same time, if there is any kind of mitigation and contingency plan, if there is anything, if it happens so far, because that is not something guaranteed for all the programs to be understand with. So that information has to be mentioned. Followed by this, we need to mention about the kind of risk that is being involved in it, and at the same time, the kind of reality we need to understand from the context of the owner. Owner may be a business owner or someone. So how it is getting impacted on in terms of the risks and all, everything has to be mentioned under the critical projects risk. Either it could be a schedule risk, it could be, or it could be a budget risk here, or it could be a regulatory risk also. Okay. If you want, you can add few more, but of course, regulatory, let us confine this, right? So regulatory risk it could be. So the different type of risk and what kind of regular risk distribution does, and followed by this, how it is impacting on the program. So based on the project risk management, what a project manager do, the same thing will be applied by combining the program management as a whole. This is where generally this information has to be mentioned. At the same time, of course, dependencies, you know, how it is depending on one project to one. If there is any components dependencies, we have seen here, if there is anything of that sort, right? So if there is anything of that sort, the dependencies has to be mentioned under that. Next, here program level timelines, because if there is any kind of timelines, normally in traditional model, we prepare Gantt charts. Because, you know, in traditional model, we use MS Project, Microsoft Project is being used. We're using Microsoft Project, we prepare Gantt charts, all that. But whereas whenever we are coming on agile environment, in replacement to Gantt charts and all, we are preparing Gantt charts and PET charts. On behalf of it, normally in agile environment, we are using sprint burndown charts, burn-up charts and all, everything. So that is where the difference is. In traditional way of project development, we use Gantt charts, PET charts to know about the progress of the work. Here, we are using sprint burndown charts, burn-up charts and all, everything here. This is where generally this timelines as well as the kind of Gantt charts, whatever we have prepared, all that. At the same time, preliminary estimation information has to be mentioned. Followed by this, who are the program sponsor, because program sponsor may be someone who is working on the programs itself is concerned. Followed by the steering committee details. About to that, you need to mention about the program manager and how and what approvals they are authorized of, because authorization as well as approvals may vary, depends on the kind of role they follow, because program sponsors may be different, program management team will be as separate. At the same time, steering committee in reference to the decision making and all, those people will be as separate to you as well. Next, last but not least, if you have any kind of revision history, as you see, because whenever we prepare documentation, there will be a document revision history which normally we follow. The same thing is applicable here also, right? Revision history, the same document revision history will also be mentioned here. So this is what generally the program management plan in reference to the program charter followed by the management plan is what comes under this. This is the final document which program management plan gives a clear glimpse over the kind of benefits or the kind of steering committee responsibilities or the kind of benefits as well as the kind of decisions followed by the decision strategies. Everything can be incorporated in this. So this is all about the documentation. What is that is required being a program management team, one has to be executed, one has to be performed. Is it
So
clear?
these documentations will be created by the program manager?
Yes, yes. Program, yes, yes. Program manager has to be created based on the final conclusions. What is that you have made so far? Please do remember that. Because conclusions are not given alone by a program manager. Underline this point, right? So, because if you want to conclude something, the kind of decisions and all that must be end result must be executed by or finalized by the project management, depends on the kind of projects, all that stuff. And final documentation has to be written by the program management team based on the inputs what they have taken from different projects in a regular basis. That's a continuous process, which usually being a program management team, one has to be followed to develop these documentations and all everything, which are essentially important to work with. Clear, Hassan?
Right.
Right. So these
So-
are the three major. One is communication one. Second is about steering committee one. The third is about final documentation, which is called program charter and management plan. So these are the three templates. At the same time, the beginning I have given one template wherein you have worked on it. You remember, I think, right? So I have given a documentation wherein you have worked on something. So that is even important. So the documentation is also something essentially needed based on the final conclusions what we have made on it. So this is all about this. Clear, Hassan? Hassan, is it clear? Hassan, is it clear?
Oh yes, sorry, I was talking on mute.
Yeah. Right. So
this makes sense. So these documents will all be submitted and held in like the program management file or folder, or
program management documentation system will be there. Usually organizations have their own program management documentation systems. There they will be preparing all that.
okay. And then, for example, for the case of Biden shop, for example, in that case scenario, if we have all these documents, can we go ahead and submit these documents for project funding?
Sorry, I didn't
and
get
justification? So I'm saying, like, as a program manager, let's say it's in the Biden the Biden case scenario. These documents will be used to get the program funding and the buy-in justification.
Yeah, because see, that is only a limited project, right? So because bedding shop systems, whatever we have discussed about cloud-based point of sale system, that is only one project, right? Bedding shop systems. But this is for a couple of projects which are comes under the program. That is where the difference you need to understand. By correlating all the programs, whatever are working on, so by correlating all this information, this document has to be prepared. Not by focusing only on one project, right? By combining all the projects, the final documentation has to be made in this regard. Understand? Clear? Hassan?
Sorry, I was talking on mute again. That makes sense.
My answer is, see, this is not for a single project we are doing this. This is for a program management. It's not only bidding shop systems of the cloud-based point of sale system what we have discussed, even a couple of other projects can also be incorporated and integrated into this. We can do that. We can do.
Right. And then this program management training and this all the course and what we discussed about here is mostly around a program manager that's hired after a project has been started or a program has been started, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I have some other couple of documents which might be useful to you maybe in your real world, maybe. I will see because I think it is there in my old repository. Let me see. There are other documents also might be. I have to see that. I will see and I will forward those documents also. Might be useful to you somewhere or other way. It may be.
Okay. Yeah, because my goal is okay, am I on mute again? No. Okay. So
please connect again. I think the meeting is going to be ended. If it was disconnected, you please connect again. Please carry on.
Okay. Yeah.
Please carry on.
So you were saying something before I was saying?
Yeah, there is some other documentation is available with me. I think there were some other
Oh, right.
related documentations.
got
I
that.
think it is in my old repository. I'll see, because those may be
Okay.
used for you in real world when you are working into program management.